Imagine standing on a mountain, your heart pounding, holding a knife above someone you love more than life itself. God's voice echoes in your mind, asking you to let go of everything you hold dear. Could you do it? Could you trust Him completely, even when nothing makes sense? Today, we're diving into the story of Abraham's sacrifice, a moment that changed history and teaches us how to trust the unknown. Abraham's life wasn't easy. He was a man who left his home, his comfort, and his past behind because God called him to something greater. Picture this: a man in his old age, wandering through deserts, clinging to a promise that seemed impossible. God told him he'd be the father of nations, yet for years he had no child. Still, Abraham believed. But then, the unthinkable happened. God gave him Isaac, the son he'd waited for, the one who carried all his hopes. And just when life felt complete, God spoke again.
Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I shall tell you.
Genesis 22 verse 2. Can you feel the weight of those words? Your miracle, your answered prayer. Now God's asking you to give it up. What would you do? Would you argue? Run? Or would you take that first step, not knowing why? Abraham chose to walk. That's where this story grabs us. It's not just about sacrifice. It's about trusting when the path is dark. Let's pause and picture Abraham's journey. He wakes up early, gathers wood, saddles his donkey, and takes Isaac with him. The Bible doesn't tell us what he said to Sarah, his wife, or how he explained this to Isaac, but it does say he obeyed immediately. That's a kind of faith that stops you in your tracks. Have you ever had to act on something without understanding why? Maybe a decision that scared you, a job change, a move, or letting go of someone you love. Abraham's story reminds us that faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about moving forward anyway. As they walk for 3 days, imagine the silence between father and son. Isaac, young and curious, carries the wood on his back, unaware of what's coming. Abraham's heart must have been breaking, yet he kept going. Why? Because he trusted God's character, not just his commands.
The Lord will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son.
Genesis 22 verse 8. He tells Isaac later. Those words weren't empty. They were a lifeline. Abraham believed God would make a way, even if he couldn't see it yet. Now they're at the mountain. Abraham builds the altar, stone by stone, each one heavier than the last. Isaac finally asks,
Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?
Genesis 22 verse 7. That question must have pierced Abraham's soul, yet he doesn't waver. He binds Isaac, lays him on the altar, and raises the knife. Stop here for a second. What's going through his mind? Is he whispering prayers? Is he fighting tears? The Bible leaves it silent, but that silence screams faith. Right now, you might be facing your own mountain, something God's asking you to surrender. Maybe it's a dream, a relationship, or a fear you've held on to for years. Abraham's story asks us, can you let go, even when it hurts? Can you trust that God sees what you can't? Because here's the truth, Abraham didn't know the ending. He didn't know God would stop him, but he believed God was good, no matter what. And then, at the last second, everything changes. An angel calls out,
Abraham, Abraham, do not lay your hand on the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me.
Genesis 22 verses 11 to 12. Abraham looks up, and there's a ram caught in a thicket. God provides the sacrifice, just as Abraham said he would. The altar becomes a place of worship, not loss. This moment is why Abraham's story still echoes today. It's not about God wanting us to lose what we love. It's about showing us that He's enough. Isaac was spared, but Abraham's faith was proven. He named that place,
"In the Lord will provide."
Genesis 22 verse 14, a reminder that God always comes through, even in ways we can't predict. Have you ever seen this in your life? A time when you thought all was lost, but God showed up in a way you never expected? That's the heartbeat of this story. So, what does Abraham's sacrifice teach us about trusting the unknown? First, it shows us that faith is active. Abraham didn't just feel trust, he acted on it. He took steps, even when they were painful. Maybe you're standing at a crossroads right now, unsure of what's next. This story says, keep moving. Trust isn't passive, it's a choice you make every day. Second, it reminds us that God tests our hearts, not to break us, but to grow us.
By faith Abraham, when he was tested, offered up Isaac.
Hebrews 11 verse 17. That test wasn't about Isaac's life. It was about Abraham's surrender. What's God asking you to release? Control? Pride? Fear? Letting go doesn't mean losing. It means making room for God's plan. But there's more. Abraham's story isn't just about one man. It points to something greater. Abraham's faith mirrors God's heart, a heart that sacrifices everything for love. What if your obedience today is doing the same? What if your small steps of faith are part of a story God's still writing? That thought alone makes me want to trust Him more. Let's bring this home. We all face unknowns, big ones, scary ones. Maybe you're wondering if you'll ever find peace, if your family will heal, or if that dream you've been chasing will come true. Abraham's story doesn't promise easy answers, but it promises a faithful God.
Look to Abraham your father. When he was but one, I called him that I might bless him and multiply him.
Isaiah 51 verse 2. God saw Abraham's faith and blessed him beyond imagination. He sees you too. Right now, you might feel like you're climbing a mountain with no map. But Abraham's story says you don't need to see the whole path. Just take the next step. Trust that the God who provided for Abraham will provide for you. Maybe it won't look like you expect, but it'll be exactly what you need. Abraham's sacrifice wasn't about giving up Isaac. It was about giving up fear, doubt, and control. It was about trusting a God who writes better stories than we could ever imagine. Today, think about your own life. What's the unknown you're facing? What's the step God's asking you to take? You don't have to understand it all. Just trust that He's leading you somewhere good. Before I go, I want to leave you with a question. What's one thing you're afraid to let go of? And how might trusting God with it change your life? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I know others will too. If this story touched you, give this video a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe so we can keep exploring God's Word together. Until next time, keep trusting, keep walking, and know that God's got you.